my great friend, Nate Reynolds. Alrighty, how you guys doing? Yes, excellent. Well, thank you so much to Chris and Liz Bailey. Let's just give them a great thanks. They have poured themselves out in ways we can't imagine. Thank you. I am humbled and honored to be given an opportunity to be here with you guys tonight. And I'll be totally honest, he's absolutely right. I am making up for lost time. And you know what? My wife had this great revelation the other day. When we moved our family into an RV 3 years ago was when it started coming to this conference. We sold everything we have, and the Father called us to the wilderness of the road. It's not a super pretty roads either. We lived in a lot of Walmart parking lots. I don't recommend it. Don't start there. Leave there. Keep going. But we started on this journey, and we had this deep desire to find this blessed, promised land. And you know what? We have lived in incredible places all over this country, and it's given us a diversity of perspective that is definitely distinct. That's definitely got a different kind of flavor to it and a different kind of feel to it than most people are comfortable with. And I'm super glad to make most of you in this room uncomfortable tonight, because that is what we really need.
All right, y'all. We're just going to do a quick, 48-hour recap, because we haven't even made it a week.
It feels like a week. We're ready for Shabbat. We're tired. We've been working hard.
We still got a couple days to go. I can't even think about that yet.
One more day to go.
One day. Today, though, I just got to say something. This is, without question, some of the most satisfying work I've ever experienced. It's real. I pruned today tomatoes, and I was therapeutic. People say that, and you're like, oh, yeah, these, hippie people. And you're like, no, I just pruned, 900 tomato plants with love and care and intentionality over and over and over again. And it was wonderful. I prayed, I thought my own thoughts consistently for hours, nothing else. And it was wonderful. There's nobody else out there.
We sweated a lot.
We sweated. It is more physically demanding and exhausting and painful work than I've ever done in my life.
And we live in a sauna. That's called the environment of Florida.
Subtropics. It's real. We came from perfect fall weather in Alabama and northern Florida and Kentucky to overwhelming swampiness.
Tonight, this talk is calling all cowards. And you know what? There's cowardice in each and every one of us. And you guys are some of the most courageous human beings that I have ever had an opportunity to meet face to face. And yet still, this cowardice abides within us. And it is something that must be rooted out of us with violence, with ferociousness. And you know what? It took for my wife and I, just the last summer, we ended up going up to a place in the mountains that had no cell service and no Wi-Fi. And you're like, oh, this sounds idyllic. You're off the grid. It's so beautiful. Until you need to look up a recipe. And you're like, how do we do all this stuff? You know what you turn to? Books. Books. We started reading again. We're like, wow, we suddenly have time to read. No, we had to read, otherwise we had no idea what we were doing. It wasn't idyllic and beautiful because libraries were raining out of the sky. No, we knew that we had to get back this time that was being stolen away through these black mirrors that were ever present in front of our faces continually. Even if you're awake and you know that you shouldn't be staring at it all the time, and you're watching all the woke conspiracy stuff, and you're just trying to unravel the mysteries of everything. I understand. But it's still this word that we're given in Ephesians. And my wife, before I came here, anybody got a sword in the room? I'm talking about this kind, not this kind. I'll get to this kind. You guys got it? Hold it up. I want to see physical swords that are in the room. Not your phone. Don't even hold it up. I'm not mad at you. I'm just disappointed. Awesome. Ephesians 6, go! Go! Sword drills. You guys know what that are, right? Get there! If I'm the last one there, you win. I'll throw gemstones at you. Seriously. Ask your children. Who's gonna get there? Who wants to read it? No, I can't do that. You guys don't have my phone. Who wants to read it? Too dark. Anybody? Will you come here? Come here. Will you read it? Yeah, you bet.
Finally, be strong in the Lord and in the strength of his might. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the schemes of the devil. For we do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers over this present darkness, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore, take up the whole armor of God, that you may be able to withstand in the evil day, and having done all to stand firm, stand therefore, having fastened on the belt of truth, and having put on the breastplate of righteousness, and as shoes for your feet, having put on the readiness given by the gospel of peace. In all circumstances, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming darts of the evil one, and take up the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, praying at all times in the Spirit, with all prayer and supplication. To that end, keep alert with all perseverance, making supplication for all the saints, and also for me, that words may be given to me, and opening my mouth boldly to proclaim the mystery of the gospel, for which I am an ambassador in chains, that I may declare it boldly as I ought to speak.
Boldly. Thank you. Let's give a round of applause. Don't come to sword fights empty-handed. Personal experience. Don't do it. Don't do it, okay? We've heard this passage. How many people have heard that passage before in their life? Like basically all of us, right? How many of you have ever heard this phrase, redeeming the time? Because the days are evil. Evil. Anybody feel some evil days around us? Anybody feel that thick, ever-present darkness? This spiritual darkness that's coming upon us? Yes, but he gave us an answer. He gave us the solution. And I gave a talk earlier today that was talking about who are the immersers. The answer is the people who immerse themselves in this word. The people who immerse themselves in this word. They are the immersers. That's why he made John, Yohanan, the Baptist, the immerser, so unique. He lived in a desert called Qumran. Not lots of water. And everybody's like, yeah, he's the baptizer, right? No, he did this. He poured this on people. Whoever they were, wherever they were, no matter how high in status and rank they were, no matter how lowly they were, he poured all this on them continually. And it made him mighty, and it made him hated, and it made him hunted. That's a hero. That's a mighty man. The word in Hebrew is called Gibor. Gimel Bet Resh. I have this staff back here. I'm going to show you guys what I'm all about with these staffs. Okay, the top of this has the name, four-letter name, word for the Father, Yahuwah. Gibor of Nathan, that's my name. He is my mighty champion. He is the mighty one, the mighty man of valor. He is the mighty one above all mighty ones who rules and reigns over my life and gives me life. And I have come to know him intimately. And when my wife and I were up here in the mountains for the last few weeks, she was reading that chapter to my daughter. And she got to that portion where she's talking about armor. And my daughter's eyes were like this big, like, whoa. Like the first time you guys heard these words. Did you ever feel that? Like the first time you actually read these words. I don't care if you were 5 or you were 55. When your eyes got big and you went, whoa. Do you know what I'm talking about? That is what he wants from us. To marvel at truth. And when you get that in you, you suddenly get hooked. Like big time, deep, set in the jaw kind of a hooked moment. And my wife was reading that portion to her, and my wife couldn't stop thinking about redeeming the time and how much her phone had stolen from her. Stolen from my children. Stolen from me. Stolen from our friends. Stolen from the relationships and the communities and the creation. How much these black mirrors steal from us. Question, do we have an enemy that has a name known as the thief? It's his identity. It's what makes him who he is, right? This great dragon of old, who is a thief, has set up a system to steal your time. Money is what? A tool, a thing. magic in a sense, but your time is unique to you, and to you, and to you, and to those children. It is precious, and it is rare, and it should be guarded fiercely. And you know what it took for me to realize the value of time? When I would get in fights with human beings. I used to live in a very different world that I was born into. That was not where people talked like this. Where people who talked like this, and all these things you're hearing here, were hunted by that one's army. The enemy has a radical, intelligent, evil-influenced army of people who operate amidst your congregations and amidst the fellowships to hunt down and spiritually and physically destroy the opposition. And you should have that same kind of mindset in your heads towards the spiritual powers and towards these things that are stealing your time. Stealing the things that should be most precious to you. You need to take violence to these idols in your life. My life has been totally transformed in the most painful kinds of ways because the Father disciplines those he loves. And some of us, you feel loved a lot lately by the Father? You feel super disciplined lately? But you know what? There comes a time with your children, and all of you who have children know what I'm talking about, that you no longer have to discipline them the way you did when they were young. You suddenly start to discipline them with words and with a communication that's different. Because they understand that there's way more power with the way you talk to them or even just look at them. Or if you abstain from them. They feel that. The Father says he turns his face from us. He hid himself from us. If you don't want my ways, you don't want my instructions, I'll go over here. I'm going to hide my face from you. And when I talk to you and you plugged your ears to what I had to say to you, fine. I'm going to plug my ears when you scream. He gave that to us. Because we said we want our own gods. We want to be our own kings. We want to be our own queens. Let us have it. Fine. Go. Run it out. And what does he say? If you would turn to me. If you would cry out to me. If you would diligently seek me with all your heart, with all your strength, and with all your might. I will not hide my face any longer. We're not the first people to cry out and scream for help. But if any of you are a dad and you hear the scream of your child, you drop everything you have and everything you're doing and you go running. You are there. You better get out of the way. I've got this little staff here. It's got this tiny, tiny little grizzly bear on it. Right here. If you want to see it later, I'll totally show you. It's got this little grizzly bear on it. People are like, what's with the bear? It's kind of cute too. It's sweet, looks innocent. Anybody ever hear about a mama bear? Anybody ever hear about El Shaddai? El Shaddai. You know what I came to learn about El Shaddai? The day I made enemies with this one, and I left the covenant of death that I'd been in my whole life. That's when I started learning about El Shaddai. And I learned about El Shaddai when I started really studying the father of my faith, Abram. This man who was born into a totally corrupt other system and who had to come out of everything he ever knew and leave, not knowing where he was going. No home, no future plans, just a promise and a belief. And you know what? The first time we ever hear about El Shaddai in the scriptures was when he revealed his face to Abram. And he said, I am El Shaddai. You come and walk with me. El Shaddai is like the mama bear. To the cub, the mama bear is the best thing on the face of the earth. She nourishes them. She goes and finds food for them. She shelters them. She covers them with her warmth, and they find rest under her. And to their enemies, she is the most terrible thing on the face of the earth. Dread, terror, nightmare coming your way. That's El Shaddai. That's who we serve. If you want to walk in this kingdom, if you want to come into this covenant, you will learn about El Shaddai. He will take care of you. You do not need to fear the terror of the night anymore. You do not need to fear what's coming. I challenge each and every one of you guys, seriously consider fasting every other form of influence in your life. 40 days. 40 days. I did 1 year. Nothing else coming into my mind for 40 days. Try it. You guys can do this. Some of you have told me and come up to me that you're gonna do it. You're gonna do a year. No YouTube, no social media, no Instagram, none of it. No podcasts, just his word for 1 year. I don't care how bad you think things are out there. If it's bad enough, you'll hear about it. Somebody will call you and tell you if it's real important. You know what it'll do for you? Change you. It will change you back into the image of what you were made to be. It will conform you no longer to the pattern of this world, but you will become transformed by the renewing of your mind, so you can know what he is all about. Unless you were born in this kind of a book and lifestyle, you've got a lot of undoing to do. So did I. He took us to the wilderness to do that. This is the wilderness. It's beautiful. It's dangerous. It's full of unpredictability. And you know what? I never even dreamed it could be so lovely. I never knew there was something so precious as human beings who loved and cared for me that were total strangers. I was the orphan on the run. I was the one who had nothing. Nothing. I sold everything I had, and we said, no matter what it takes, I'm not letting my monsters of families have that girl. That's Naomi Grace, for those of you that know her, right there. She's the first generation born free from all of these nightmares. First generation born free. As for me and my house, it stopped with me. I can't undo what happened to me. I can't get these stains off. I can't undo what I did. She doesn't even know my family's names. She doesn't even know they exist. To her, this is family now. You are our families now. These people like these people right here, this man, Ekachai. My daughter knows him as an uncle. He can barely even speak English. And that man taught me how to be a man again. He taught me how to build. He gave me this machete. This was his father's machete. He fled for his life when he was 8 years old because there was governments rounding up all the children and shoving them in military convoys to make them military soldiers. And his parents said, not us, not our house, no matter what, we're getting out of here. They shoved them under the seats and they fled across the border into Thailand, living dangerously. No home, no future, faith. Absolute faith. They knew when they read the scriptures that when persecution comes your way, you trust in me. They fled with faith. And you know what? His dad used these machetes to build houses in the jungle for his family to live in. Men, do you know how to build a house? I'm not talking about the thing most of us grew up in. I mean a place your family can sleep in. Do you know how to do that, men? Fundamentals here. You should learn that. I'm saying that to seriously kick you right in the rear end as hard as I possibly can. Learn a life skill. Seriously. Stop watching YouTube. Go find a guy who does it and train under him. That's what I had to do. I know I gotta build houses for my family. I live in a rectangle, y'all. I don't wanna live there very long. Believe me, it's crowded constantly. But you know what? It's a place for us to live right now. But I really want to build a house for my family with this. I built greenhouses with it.
Time to take a look at the internal structures of the greenhouse. These are obviously the arches that he has been working on. So you see, this is how he sets them in there. Does a notch that's about 2.5 inches deep. Brings over lash above and below, and this one he sets and he hammers in a bamboo core into it.
This one here, I'll get to you guys on the other side there. This one here, this is the first house I built. It houses plants, and it's gonna house plants for the next 8 to 10 years. It's mostly made out of bamboo. This exact bamboo right here. The farmer there, he planted bamboo as a living fence all around his property. Even though if you live in northern climates, y'all, you can plant bamboo. It grows in Nepal. You know where that is? You know, the highest mountains in the world? It grows there. Bamboo can grow in your yard. You can eat it. Every spring, depending on where you live, it shoots up these sprouts that are like asparagus and you can eat them. It'll grow 30, 60, 90 feet in a month and a half. It's incredible. And you can build with it. It's amazing. I absolutely am fanatically obsessed with bamboo and the wonders that it is. It creates living fences so your animals don't wander off and so you can have some privacy. And it also creates a micro ecosystem and a climate where it generates its own weather. It's literally a weather modifier. Right here. You don't need to worry about what they're spraying on you guys. Yahuwah loves you and he made plants that make their own weather. It's okay. It's gonna be okay. Mushrooms also make their own weather. Seriously. They dump water vapor into the air so they can have clouds so their spores can travel on. Original weather modification, y'all. Nothing new under the sun. But I wanted to build a house for my family. And you know what? Instead, I learned how to build houses for plants. I could live in that. True story, it'd be super hot and miserable and I would not be happy. I would not be happy, and neither would you. But it grows food in abundance and it gives my family an opportunity to live there. Over the course of that journey, y'all, he took me and he showed me a different way of living. That's what bamboo looks like when you plant it in a line. It makes a living fence like that. That's a privacy fence that someone planted in their backyard suburbia because there's neighbors directly on the other side of that. And they got real uncomfortable that they could always see in their dining room windows. And they were like, I could plant bamboo? Yeah, that took 4 years. 4 years, it got that thick to where it was a perfect fence now. That's bamboo. Check it out. It's amazing. Anyways, we went on this journey hoping to get to this beautiful place where we could have this nice, idyllic farm lifestyle and that we would know what to do with it and how to raise animals that graze under trees. This is called silvopastures, y'all. It's an abundance of life that are waiting for you under your nut trees. If you let your sheep come and poop and pee directly under it. Everything needs your poop and pee. If you came to my talk earlier, we already went there. You betcha. We're all like, yeah, he talked about poop a lot. But you know what? Some of the greatest treasures that the Father has given to me and my family over the course of this time, it has come from living bread and living fabrics. Question you all. What was Joseph wearing when he became the second most powerful man in all of Mitzrayim, Egypt? When Yeshua comes back, what's he wearing? Linen. What are all the mighty angels wearing in the heavenlies when they come back on this earth? Linen. What were all the priests wearing in the tabernacle? Linen. This is super peculiar. Anybody else hearing this? What's he going to clothe us in when we have our righteousness and we come before him? Fine white linen. Why? Like when I got immersed in the word, this stuff just started exploding at me. And I was like, wow, check this out, honey. Like he's all about linen. What's even happening in there? Back when I was sweating my face off and miserable in those greenhouses, I got so thin. I'll just go back to the picture because it's ridiculous. Let's see. This guy right here. That was me. I lost 27 pounds in like 2.5 months. It was brutal. Not the good kind of ways, y'all. This is like the scary kind of way. I was only eating fruits and vegetables. Yeah, because that's all they grow on farms. I don't have money for food. I'm like, honey, we just gotta eat. We gotta live somewhere they grow stuff because we don't have money. So we lived there, and I ate all the stuff, all the time. I ate more eggplant than I can even start to tell you about, and it was awesome. But it's not the same as when you're used to like having bread. My wife was gluten-free and dairy-free and soy-free and all this stuff because our babies had intestinal and digestional problems. And we were like, we're just gonna eat whatever comes off this farm. They didn't grow fish there. It was hard. It was exhausting, and I was sweating all the time. That's because I was wearing poison. I didn't know it yet. I'm all smiling because that's the fruit of my labors. I'm a master vine dresser now. That's the tomatoes I grow. We charge 3 times as much as everybody else because those tomatoes are the most delicious things you'll ever taste in your life. They're like unbelievable taste. If you're gonna do anything in your life, do it with absolute excellence. Then this last year, after my first year at that farm, linen came exploding out of the scriptures. And I found out that you will sweat twice less as you would when you're wearing petroleum-based products like nylon and polyester. Anybody ever get hot and sweaty here in Ohio? Good gracious, y'all. You are tough humans. I respect you tremendously. I don't spend lots of time here by choice. It's brutal. And I come from Florida. It's brutal here. You will sweat twice as much because you're wearing synthetic fabrics. If you're wearing cotton, it's 1.5 times as much. This stuff wants to breathe. That's all it wants to do. This was designed for your body. The Father says, I will feed you, I will clothe you, I will nourish you if you come into my kingdom, El Shaddai. Remember? Baby bears don't have to worry about where they're getting all that stuff. Neither should you. But if you turn to his word, you will find out what is his stuff and what's the counterfeit. Those clothes that most people are wearing today are counterfeits. Counterfeits. They're designed to make you sick. Biggest organ in your body. Biggest organ in your body. Any of you have skin disorders, eczema? What did we hear about Dr. Vickers talking about with the Gerson therapy? If your skin is showing problems, what does it mean? Extremely toxic. And so what do we put on that toxic skin? More toxins. What's going on here? We're doing what we've been told to do. We've been given a lie. We've been given clothing that's pleasing to our eyes, just like Eve in the garden was given fruit that was pleasing to her eyes. And by that, she was deceived. With subtlety and craftiness, the dragon deceived the whole world. His job, deceive the whole world, lead them astray. Yahweh's job is to lead us back onto the narrow way. One way in, one way out. Total protection. That's linen. Right there. So we started finding linen like crazy at thrift stores and Goodwills because it's super expensive. Because basically, it's real fiber. It's real clothing. Wool is also in the scriptures. It will cause you to sweat. Ezekiel 44:17. The priests were not allowed to wear wool while they were in the tabernacle because they said it will cause you to sweat. Wool is something that physically causes you to sweat and warm up, which is excellent if you're in colder climates, right? Terrible when you're ministering to the fire of Yahweh and you'll burn to death and die. Practical good reasons and instructions, right? Linen came into our life and it finally did something to me that I have always had a serious problem with, which is sweating profusely continually. I'm a hot, sweaty, invigorated dude. You know what I mean? And I move a lot. There is no kind of clothing I've ever had that I wasn't sweating in. Till this. It cools me down every single time I walk. You just gotta embrace the billow, y'all. Don't be sad. Embrace the wrinkles. Anybody have wrinkles? Raise your hands. Embrace your wrinkles, they're biblical. If you wanted you not to wrinkle, it wouldn't happen. You were made to wrinkle. Praise the Father, you showed some evidence that you've lived. Thank goodness there's some kind of witness to my life. People need to see it. Vanity tells you otherwise. But that's the other game, that's the counterfeit. So we are living in the most ridiculous place in someone's driveway in 1 acre with 12 goats and a whole bunch of human beings everywhere. Homeless people that were witches. It was nuts.
Do it again. Big Chuck. Oh. Whoa, you almost hit Mom with the tomato. Briley wants one.
Feed it to Briley. Oh, you're gonna have to get closer now.
Briley, come here. Hi, Sage. What you doing, you hungry girl?
Hickory, simmer down, honey.
What is she doing?
She's so hungry. She's all like,
Well, she's feeling left. She's feeling left out.
oh,
But there, we found linen. Like that much linen. Like cartfuls of linen. Huge shopping bags full of linen. And we started going, well, this is way more than we need. What are we gonna do? So we came up with something. Check this out. Anybody heard of the LinenRailroad? If you don't know, you guys are a railroad station right there. Right behind that wall, behind all the speakers, people have been exchanging linen behind your backs. Sneaky. I love it. LinenRailroad. And this is still after 2 days. We've had people come and bring whole new wardrobes in. This entire thing's been filled and emptied and then refilled again as new people came to the conference. Absolutely astounding to get to see all the people who brought incredible garments for people to actually have. It's been amazing. So my wife and I have a ministry called Becoming a Linenite. It's a Facebook group if you want to jump on there. We talk about milling and linen and natural living and all this crazy, ridiculously wonderful, encouraging stuff, all right? But from there, we started sending out linen to garments because we believe that the Father wants to clothe his naked people. In Hosea, he said that, you know what, as part of the consequences for divorcing and leaving him, that he was going to take from us linen, wool. He said that. I'm going to take it from you. And you go be clothed by the other gods that you love so much. Enjoy their garments. And you know what? If you return to him, he'll clothe you again. These are his garments. They're biblical. They're natural. They will fuel your body and make you mighty again. Seriously. Like way more so than I can even start to describe to you guys. We have endless hours of videos on there and now thousands of people from all over the world who share testimonials of how transformational this has been for their lives when they slept one night on linen sheets. And they're like, my daughter slept through the night for the first time in her entire life. What is that about? There's this electromagnetic warfare that's going on all the time that most of us are being bathed in, full of toxins, and all the fibers of the clothing that you're wearing conduct electricity and channel it directly into that organ in your body. This doesn't. Cannot conduct static electricity. Can't. It's amazing. You know what? So now we roll up these little linen packages. We give people linen. We find out their sizes. We roll them up. We pack them full of treasures, like you see on my table, and then we send them to people all over the world as a gift. We give it to them. And you know what's so beautiful? We get to hear testimonials of people that have never in their life been given anything like this. They don't know anything about our ministry. They don't know anything about the Father's instructions. They don't know anything about this other kingdom. And you know what? Blessings come upon their head. This is what that comes in there. Welcome to the LinenRailroad. The Reynolds family thanks you for the opportunity to send you a parcel of our Creator's treasures. Our mission is to equip, encourage, and inspire the remnant to be bold and courageous. Our hope is for folks to be able to live dangerously by walking in our Redeemer's peculiar and set-apart ways. Enclosed, you will find garments which are ready to be worn, repurposed, or set apart from someone else. Also, we'll tuck in some marvels from Nate's treasure chest. Everyone needs some fossils, gemstones, or unique seashells in their life. We pray these items will bless you and strengthen your resolve to be mighty for Yahuwah's kingdom. And above all else, we hope you will grow in your desire for his living word. May you be eager to search through its pages for the bread which will satisfy your hunger and strengthen your weary soul. This is our mission. This is what the Father gave me. As a wounded warrior, I needed a mission. And you know what the last thing I would have thought it would be? Clothes. Dang it. I don't like getting on that group. I don't like hearing about clothes all the time. But you know what I discovered? Linen is armor, which is savage. I have a whole other talk about that I'll give another time. Linen literally was armor for thousands of years. They called it the linothorax. Alexander the Great wore it in all of his armies when they conquered the world. It's the most powerful armor on the face of the earth. No, I'm super serious. It'll stop a spear. Spear. Stop it. Dead in its tracks. Stop arrows, stop swords. And it conforms to your body and keeps you cool. Isn't that awesome? 15 layers of linen glued together with flax glue. Marvelous. He loves his people. But in that, at the same time, as we're discovering these garments of glory, these garments of praise, I'm feeling better in my body, and I finally discovered bread, the bread of life. Someone sends us a presentation by this woman named Sue Becker. Who's heard of Sue Becker in the room? Yeah. Sue Becker is a nutritionist who's in Atlanta. She has a place called Bread Becker's. She's in the OG, y'all, original grinder. This woman been grinding at the mill a long time, decades, y'all. She's been preparing the way Joseph style for all of us who would finally learn about this thing called living bread. Anybody read about the bread in scripture and be like, why does bread make me feel bad? Oh, my children are so sick they can't even eat that stuff. And you're like, that makes no sense. Yeshua says, I'm the bread that came down from heaven. And people were like, what are you saying, man? Don't say that. You don't know what you're saying. We know where you're from, man. You can't say that. And he's like, I am. And they're like, oh! He is the bread that came down from heaven. Daily bread rained down from heaven for the people to give them everything they needed. Everything they needed. Every vitamin, mineral, and amino acid except for a couple two is in bread. Not the bread you buy at the store. That gonna kill you. It's gonna kill you, for real. It will kill you. Guaranteed, absolute certainty. If you try to live on that bread alone, you will die. Try it. Don't. Sorry. Some of you are super serious. Don't try that at home, okay? Everything else I'm gonna say mostly, we'll try at home, okay? This is living bread on its way. So bread comes from wheat berries. I passed these out earlier in my other talk, guys. I'm not gonna be able to do it. I'm just gonna throw. No, Chris would not be happy. This is wheat berries, specifically spelt. Spelt. You can chew them. Oh. You have grinders in the back of your mouth. You can use those if you must. I don't recommend it. Now, this is way better at doing it for you. This is called a Wonder Mill. There's another one that I really like called a Nutra Mill. They're fast, they're efficient, and you never have to clean it. All right, guess what happens? I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna put it in that, and it's gonna come out like flour. It's amazing. I know, none of you guys have ground grain by hand, have you? Raise your hand if you ground grain by hand. 1. Wow, shocking number of humans in this room. 2 hands in the back. Dang, mighty Kirshner's like, yeah, I ground grain by hand. You're amazing. More and more every day. You guys see this wheel right here? Over here, if you're over here. That's the other way you can do it. Round and round and round and round and round. Hey, where's the young ladies in the room? Where's my young women? Raise your hands high. Don't be shy, raise them high. Yes, this would be your job. Yeah, what's up? Get them. That's the grinding wheel. Anybody ever hear about the grinding stone or the millstone in the scripture? Yeah. What would be better than for these wicked, evil people to have tied around their necks a millstone? That's a millstone, y'all. Wouldn't it be great if that was tied around the necks of these people that would hurt the little children? Yeah. Oh, there's a biblical reference for you now. He's talking about that kind of stuff. That's what he wants tied around their necks. He's gonna do that. Don't you try it. Let him do it. Trust me, he ties way bigger stones than you and I could ever tie around people's necks. And he will bring them down in a day. You pray, and you watch him answer. You scream, and you watch him come running. Okay? This is when we scream. Anybody screaming out for help, for help? This is something you guys can do at home, every single one of you, no matter where you're at. We have people in every kind of socioeconomic background who they cry out and they ask the Father for a meal, and it comes. Every single person we have ever talked to who has heard about this has gotten their living bread. Guaranteed. If you don't find it and you can't get it, you cry out to the Father. If he doesn't give it to you, you write me. And I will come running, not physically, but I'll send you something treasurable, okay? This is a mill. So bran, wheat that we buy from the store, like this all-purpose bag of death, right there. Don't worry, it says enriched on it. That's gotta be great, right? No, when they sift out the bran and the germ, that's the 2 little tiny, there's that green little thing right there that's shaking, that's my violent tremors. And this one over here, that's the germ, okay? When you watch seeds go sprouting up and out of the soil like, yeah, I'm gonna live, yes! That's coming out of the germ, full of so many little oils and fats and vitamins and minerals. That's shooting out. And then that bran is that hard casing on the outside that keeps everything safe. Right? It also is like fiber to get toxins out of your body. Poop waste. Talking about poop. Yeah. Okay? That is exactly what is in there. And then there's all that other size of it. The rest of it, all the rest of that stuff, that's that gluten. The wheat protein that we think of as wheat, flour. And then what they do is they grind all this in a super, 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 super fast mill, and then it sifts out all the bran and the germ. Because then they're left with this shelf-stable project that can sit there and kill you whenever it wants to. We used to call them grenades in the military. You guys ever seen grenades? No, seriously, anybody ever thrown a grenade in this room? Yeah. What'd that feel like when they put it in your hand? Amazing. What'd it feel like when somebody set up a Claymore mine and you didn't know where it was? Scared. Yeah. This is the Claymore mine on the shelf. Claymore Mine is a bunch of high explosives with 400 or 800 ball bearings on the front of it. And it's got a tripwire that you can almost not see at all. And they set it up somewhere you can't see it, in front of an area that you're gonna walk in, like for certain, right? And then you trip this wire, boom! You're dead, son! And like 250 people around you if they're right there. It's terrible. That's what you should think of every time you see that. You walk by the store shelf, you're like, oh, it used to be so convenient, honey. It's just so much easier. Claymore Mine! Waiting to blow your legs off. That's what that stuff is. Seriously. Sue Becker does a way more scientific approach to all this stuff. It's on my channel. It's called The Bread of Life. Go watch that video, okay? I know some of you guys need that. Go for it, okay? When you grind it fresh, you guys, it's gonna lose 45% of its nutrients in the first day because it's gonna oxidize. Because that's what it should do, because there's living enzymes in it and stuff that wants to eat it. Stuff that wants to break it down, because it's so full of nutrients. Everything in the air in the room and everything around it wants to eat it. So should you. Second day, you're like 80% of your vitamins and minerals are gone. Third day, 90%. It's not that it's not still good food. It's just nowhere near as good as it was the day you got it. Okay? So I'm gonna turn this thing on. It's gonna sound like a jet engine. Everyone just be calm. Be calm. Now I'm gonna add the grain. Everybody ready? Hold on. It's okay. Be calm. It's gonna handle it.
Not so bad.
So what it's doing right now is just grinding up all that grain and it's putting it in this little chamber pot right here. It's gonna store it for me. So instead of baking bread with the Claymore Mine, now you can bake it with this. It's super complicated. You guys can totally handle it, I promise. It's gonna get loud again. That's how we know it's done. When you watch my video, I really roll in aircraft footage right here of jets taking off. If you haven't been to an air show, it's literally what it sounds like. Just like that, I love it. Every time my wife fires that thing off, I can hear it at 250 paces. It's fantastic. That's the sound of life. You know what happens? He said if we disregard his ways, he's gonna take the sound of the grinding stones away from us. Not a joke. Because if we disobey him, if we turn from him, he's gonna turn us over to the Claymore Mines. It's the way it works, y'all. This is the world, okay? But if we turn back to him, do you know what he said he promised to give us? The millstones back. You Linenites, you are the answers. The promises being fulfilled in front of our eyes. These are the treasures that are waiting in the Word, y'all. If you read that scripture and you diligently seek his face, he will answer you. He will give you everything you need to live. Not like an okay life. The best life you could ever imagine. He wants to take care of you. Don't you love your children? I know they're difficult beyond measure. Oh my goodness, smash my head against the wall, face palm kind of days. I understand. I poop in a bucket. My children and I'm just gonna full disclose this here. I have a whole video series about growing good soil, and I talk a lot about pooping in the dirt, okay? We have a composting toilet, and my daughter, when she's potty training, she forgets to close the flap. Okay, this is a real important flap, y'all. Integral, very important flap. It separates out my pee from my poop. But if you leave that flap open, everybody knows the poop pot is open. It's stinky in that RV real fast. It's real bad. But you know what? I love my daughter enough to continue to remind her to close the flap. Close the flap. Please close the flap. Please close the flap. And you know what? There's days when it's way worse than that. And you guys know what I'm talking about. But on those days when you start to turn back to your father, when your children start to turn to daddy and they start to give you help, it is the greatest blessing that you can experience in your life. And my wife and my children and I have been blessed beyond measure because when we returned to him, he gave us living bread, he gave us living clothing, and he gave us living water. He taught us about the treasures that were waiting in the water. Booyah! Treasure hunting. Full disclosure, I love treasure. No way else around it. This is my face the day I found a megalodon tooth that I've been praying for literally 30 years for. It's the day one I saw a megalodon tooth when I was a kid. I was like, I gotta get me one of those. Please, Daddy, let me find one. 30 years later, still praying. Please. Crying, sobbing, hysterics at beaches in Florida. I just want to find one so bad. I'm very emotional. Very emotional. And I cry super hard at the beach, and it makes people very uncomfortable. They have no idea what's going on with me. They don't know what I'm up to. But you know what? Then when I come out of the water with that, they all want to know what I'm up to. They're like, you found a megalodon, dude. That guy. I'm like, yes! I am so enthused because my father gave me treasure. He gave me treasure, and you know what? He will give you guys those things that you diligently ask him for. Diligently ask him for. If it's a megalodon tooth, I'm not even kidding, children. If it's a dinosaur bone, he'll give it to you. If it's a gigantic mastodon, he'll give it to you. Oh, I'm super serious. I want a whole mammoth tusk. The whole thing, y'all. And I want to carry it to conferences like a crazy man. It would be epic, and it would be taller than that screen. I can't wait. You watch, I'll bring it here. This is when I found an Indian axe head. That was when I was screaming and crying because I wanted the megalodon tooth, and instead he's like, here's an Indian axe head. I told your children this story, and I let them all hold the Indian axe head. And the first year, I went.
One. You found one.
Maybe. But this one time, I spent a whole year looking for shark teeth, and I didn't find any. None. 1 year. I prayed every single time. Because you didn't know it, if you want to find treasure, you have to pray. Seriously, just ask your father. Ask the Creator, and he will give you treasure. And so I went in this place called the Peace River. I'll get to you in a second. The Peace River.
Well, there's the hubby. He's hunting them fossils. He's been hunting them fossils for years. There's a lot of sticks, a lot of mud, muck, mire, and yeah, but he keeps hunting. I sure hope he can find something someday. Maybe a nice megalodon tooth, or I don't know, whatever the Lord wills him to find. Lord, help him to find a fossil. He really would, it would do his heart good. Find him a fossil. This is a beautiful area though. Check out those trees. Absolutely stunning. So pretty. The girls are loving it. We're just hanging out on the riverbank, eating some peanuts, and watching out for alligators. And here's a little Jubilee. Here's Juby.
And when I got in the water, it was crazy, and it was full of all kinds of trash. Anybody been in a river that had trash in it?
No.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Don't be scared of that trash. It's just whatever. I kept going and looking in that water, and it was so cold. I was like, oh, 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 it was freezing. I was like, oh, oh. And my lips were turning blue, and I was shaking all over. And I was like, oh, I gotta find a shark tooth, please. And I was looking and looking and looking. For 2.5 hours, I was looking and I was looking, and I was like, oh, I can't find it, and I'm so cold. And I kept cutting my feet on broken glass. Ow! It hurt so bad, my feet were bleeding, and I was trying to dig in this muck with my feet to just feel it, because I couldn't go down and dive to get it because my arms kept getting stuck in all this wire that was down there, and it was really bad. And my wife was like, don't give up, honey. Keep going, you're gonna find your treasure. And I was like, she doesn't sound like that, just in my head. She sounds like that. And I kept looking and looking and looking, and she was sitting in this chair on the side of the shore, like right there. And I was like, kind of coming back towards her, and I started searching with my feet. And then all of a sudden I felt something. I dug down in there, I was like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And out of the muck. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Don't hit me, Juby.
Ow! Oh, there's just like a fishing hook in my foot. I just found an Indian axe.
Yes, you did.
Oh my gosh.
Gosh.
Look, it's been sharpened and smoothed. Oh my gosh, feel it. Yeah, you should.
My gosh.
Look at that. Oh my Lord. Oh my gosh, I just found a stone axe. Oh, look at you. Thank you, God mercy. The last person to touch this was very likely someone who was the maker of it. Not the stone, but the tool it became. Oh, that's amazing.
That's exactly what it is.
Wait, and the
Hold on, Naomi.
This is literally 4 feet from where I first started, and I've wandered hundreds of yards back and forth, but then just came back to this. Oh, thank you, God. Thank you, my wife. Thank you for your encouragement. I was discouraged, but
You were
you
very
encouraged me. I was
discouraged.
almost quitting.
I was
I was
like,
gonna
go
call
for
it
it.
in.
when you
Yes.
and when you and when
Can you go back in?
when you're almost drowning all the way to the ground, you see all those shells. When you're drowning, you see all those shells like a curve.
Like a curve.
All of them on top of the water.
I'm gonna go
You
look
can-
then.
Paul is gonna be like, what? Paul, check that out. Check that out, brother.
Came an Indian axe head. This is an Indian axe head that I found. Now, I'm gonna hand this out. You guys can all hold it and look at it because you should be able to hold something marvelous. But please take care of it. It's an axe head. You can't really jack it up too much, but don't drop it. Now, somebody made this out of a super, super hard rock. And you know how they made it? They sat there and they sanded it on this rock.
With their hands?
With their hands for hours and hours and hours and days and days and days. And they were super determined to make an axe so they could do what? What is an axe for?
Cut trees. Chopping wood.
Chopping wood. What else?
Cut down trees.
Cutting down trees. Yes.
Maybe
Self-protection.
things that involve wood. Make staffs.
Making staffs. All of the above. That's right. That is an Indian axe head. We're gonna learn how to make a staff. I'm gonna show you guys how to make a staff today as well as we go on this adventure. But even though that whole time I was praying for shark's teeth, the Father knew I needed an Indian axe head instead. And He loves you guys so much that He brought me with that treasure all the way here so you can hold it and learn that He will give you treasures wherever you are. Now, I went back to and I let them all hold the Indian axe head because I believe treasures are the best when they're shared. So that's what I do. I go and find these gemstones and treasures. Those are sapphires right there. Anybody ever heard about sapphires of the covenant? Come on, come on, come on. Exodus 24:10. And they saw the Elohim of Israel. This is Mount Sinai, y'all. The mountain is on fire. And they saw him. And under his feet was a pavework of sapphire stones. Sapphire stones, as bright as the heavens and as clear as the heavens. From those they took tablets that he wrote with his finger on the instructions. Sapphires of commandments. Those are sapphires, right there, in that hand. These are sapphires, right here, in this bag. I'm gonna dump them out here. Some of you are gonna figure this out and come get them. You can come get them now, you don't have to wait. These are sapphires, y'all. If you don't have any, it's biblical for you to have these. You know why? Because they're a reminder of our Father's absolutely spectacular covenant. Look at all you guys. I've had a table here for 3 days. 3 days. Now you come get my stuff. Crazy, y'all. Unbelievable. Come on now. You make sure to share them. There's a beautiful ruby. Nikki, come here. There's a giant ruby for you. There you go. There's a big ruby for you. You're so welcome. Who didn't get a big sapphire? You did. Get out of here. I gave you so many. You want some more? Or you didn't? You didn't get one? Hey, you come up here right now. Come on. Not you. You guys go. If you got sapphires, go. If you didn't, come here. I'm about to blow this guy up. Will you tell everyone your name?
Owen.
Owen. Hey, everyone. When I was with the children earlier, I did a teaching and I asked a question. And I said, how did David kill Goliath? Oh, right? No.
Got his head off.
Yeah.
Were you the one who answered that question? I'm so sorry, I'm going to trade you out. Okay? Don't worry. Come here. Question. How did David kill Goliath?
The sword.
Yes! Come here. Give a big round of applause for Owen. There you go. I'm going to give you a tiny sword. That's for you. Come on up here. Jump up here. This is the young man who got it right. Tell everyone your name.
Logan.
Logan! Give it up for Logan! Here's a sword for you, buddy. All right. You guys get sapphires? Oh my gosh, come get some sapphires, bros. Don't be shy. You guys good? You already got one? Buddy, did you get sapphires? Grab some sapphires. You know why? I'm shocked more of you adults didn't come down here. Seriously, I've had a table there for 3 days. 3 days stuffed with treasures. I know it's the most chaotic table in the conference. Granted, that's what my mind looks like on the inside. Crazy town, okay? But listen, I go and find these treasures, and I go and testify to people everywhere I go about the one who gave them to me. The one who made them, the one who made who they are, and the purpose and the destiny that's waiting in their life. This is my wife right here, when she found the best treasures of her life. You know, it's so cute. Everyone's like, that's such a great picture. She looks so happy. My wife almost died like 8 minutes before that picture was taken. True story, my fault. Mostly. I'm pretty extreme, obviously. And I figured out that when you go snorkeling and trying to find treasures, that it's way easier to sink down to the bottom super fast if you have a bunch of weights around your belt, right? They call these things weight belts. They got these nice lead weights on them. Well, I didn't have any money, so I went to the thrift store and I found these lady weights that you wrap around your ankles.
It's gonna be a great day. I finally got weights.
Oh my. I don't know that this is a good idea.
So I used those for a while, and they were terrifying, and they were bad, and they fall all over the place, right? And then one of my buddies from Texas mailed me a bunch of lead weights, and he was like, listen, these are no joke. They will kill you dead if you don't mess around. Make sure you have a proper latch on your dive belt. And I was like, I got the good one off Amazon. It's gonna be great. They were great for me, because I generally only ever swam in water that was 7 feet deep, no deeper. Because with my fins on, I could stand up and get my snorkel, which I'm always wearing right here. There's my snorkel. I could reach with my snorkel to get air, okay? My wife doesn't scuba dive and snorkel like I do because she's a good mom, and she's like giving her life away on the beach continuously. Anybody have nursing babies? It never stops. You all are amazing. Anyways, but it was like the perfect day. She finally had an opportunity, and she's like, I'm going in. And I was like, yeah, you're gonna find the best. This is Sanibel Island where she's standing right there, and the beach, right here, she's standing on Sanibel Island. Just over here on the other side of her is a place called Turner Beach. It's where 2 islands meet. And so there's a crazy intense tide that goes in and out. And it will kill you dead. There's signs everywhere that say this. Don't swim here. That's always where I go. I'm like, great, opportunities are abounding. That's seriously, that's where all these big giant shells came from. This size shells. Gigantic, yeah, jaw-dropping, awesome treasure shells, right? That's where I found them, you guys. And so my wife, I came out of there with no joke, more than 150 pounds of gigantic seashells. And I was like, there's hundreds more, honey. They're just waiting, go get them. And she's like, yes. So she goes diving in, and right before she goes deeper into the water, I'm like, okay, honey, with this weight belt, don't forget, there is a quick release here. If you start to feel like you're sinking and you can't get to the surface, pull that, the weights will drop, and you will shoot to the surface, okay? She's like, okay, yeah. She doesn't ever act this enthused as I do, but in my head, this is exactly how she looks. And she's going into the water, right? She's got her snorkel on, and she's so happy, and it makes everybody's face look ridiculous. Let me show you. Just her example. Because this is always how I'm smiling. Yes! That's generally what I look like when I'm coming out of the water. Because almost nobody comes to the beach with a snorkel and a mask. Dadgummit, y'all, bring this to the beach. You'll find all the treasures that everybody's missing because they're just walking lazily along the water. Oh, maybe I'll find a shell today. Maybe I'll find a shell today. Oh, that water's cold. Get in the water. My wife is in the water. She's swimming with all her might, and she's loading up this bag full of shells, full of them. She's like, this is amazing. She's finding gigantic lightning bugs and beautiful fighting conchs and leonard olives and banded tulips. And it's just like the creator opened up the treasure chest for her, and she's having the time of her life. And then all of a sudden she sees the big shells. She's like, oh yeah. She goes for the big shells, and what happens when you go for the big shells? You go right into that riptide. Oh yeah, it's gonna go there now. So she's swimming out and she goes down for the gigantic shell. Yeah. That's the one she's holding right there. That right there is a horse conch. Hold on, we'll get there. That is a horse conch right there. They're massive, they're beautiful. This is a horse conch right here. This is a horse conch. I don't know why my light's on. Woohoo! Horse conch. She finds that thing, and what does she do? Shove it on her chest, right? In that bag. Super, super heavy. And now she's swimming along and she sees all the dozens of other treasures, and she suddenly can't reach the bottom. And now she can't only reach the bottom, it's like 12 feet deep, and she's sinking, boom, like a stone, because she's got all this weight on her, and then once you fill it with all these treasures, you sink super fast. And she's sinking and she's drowning that fast. And she's desperately kicking as hard as she can and fights to the surface and sucks down some air and sinks again. And she has this panicked realization, I am drowning right now, I'm gonna drown. What am I doing? And she heard in the back of her mind my voice. Remember, honey, if you get into trouble with this, pull the latch. She pulls the latch. The weights shoot down to the bottom and she goes flying to the top, gets to the surface and kicks as hard as she can horizontally back towards the beach to break out of the tide, and gets to the shore and collapses on the shore. And I'm like, yeah, look at all you found. And she's like, I am so not happy. That was horrible. She's crying and I'm like, oh no, you lost the weights. Don't worry, I'm a treasure hunter. I can handle this. I just pray, go back in the water with my fins on, dive down in it. You know what? It was 15 feet deep. That's where I realized as I was swimming down towards those weights, I would have found my wife's body. And it totally made me sick. All of a sudden, I felt sick to my stomach in a way I've never known possible. And I realized my wife would have drowned for treasure, for rocks and shells, had I not given her good instructions. But you know what? I wash my wife in the water of the Word regularly. I make sure that she no longer looks the way she used to look in that worldly system, that she is with me, that she is home with my children. And I sent her out into a dangerous place, but I sent her out with good wisdom, and it saved her life. And I tell you that story to remember the words of your Father. He's given you good instructions, and it's not far off. There is no one that needs to go to the heavens and get them for us. They're not hard to do, but they are so easy that a child can do them. He has given you guys good instructions so that when you think you're about to drown and the waters are over your head and you're certain that it's all about to fall apart, remember Him. Guard that word fiercely, and He will give you everything you ever needed to live. This conference, you guys, is the sickest I have ever been in my life. I have never been more sick. For the last few weeks, I have fought off an illness that pervades every area of my body, and I cannot understand it. I live an incredibly healthy lifestyle, and yet it was like somebody shot me with a weapon in my head and in my throat and in my mouth before I'm supposed to come up here and speak over and over and over again. It has been humbling beyond measure. I've been cultivating the fruits of endurance, and it's rough soil. I am not used to being weak. I know what it means to be weak, but I'm not used to it. And you know what happened? I got to experience the strength of family. Family. Behind this sign here, you can't even see it. Aaron, are you in the room? Yeah. The saddest. Are you in the dad zone right now? He's got a baby on his lap. His family nourished me. Yeah, like real lifestyle nourished me. Home cooking because they live in a travel trailer. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Crystal. They have fed me and nourished me. People have come up to me. Jeremiah Dirt doesn't even know it. I was sitting in the back of this room preparing to go on to a talk I was not ready for. Chris is like, you want to do a Bible Q&A? I'm like, I can't stand. And he's like, you'll be all right. I was like, okay. He's like, you're all right. I'm sitting back there coughing as hard as I've ever coughed in my life. And I'm like, Father, I need something for my throat. I need cough drops right now. And I go out there so I stop coughing for poor Andrew Hoy's presentation, which was epic. Andrew Hoy, if you're here, you're my champion. I think you're amazing. I go out into that back room and I'm dying. Jeremiah Dirt. There's my man.
Not really full-hearted at the end of it. I made it in my room way over there. I was like, maybe I'll drink some. Maybe. I literally was like, maybe. I'm walking with it. I'm not drinking it yet. I'm walking. I come in the building over here, and you just poured your heart on me and said, you literally said, I need help, man. Just pray for me. And I'm sitting here with this nice hot tea, and I'm like, now I know why I made the tea. That's how God works.
All right, man. Thank you. Jeremiah Dirt literally hands me a cup of throat coat tea. He's like, here you go, man. And he's like, here's me hacking. He's like, you need some cough drops? I'm like, oh my God, it's so bad. I can't even speak. He gives me the throat coat tea and the cough drops, and I'm not dying anymore. I've had people all over this conference at different times come bring me foraged treasures. I have a literal treasure chest on my table. It's got even better treasures in it. If you bring me something foraged, medicine from nature, that's food is medicine. If you bring me something that's foraged out of nature, I'll trade you for my treasure chest. And all these children have been bringing me the medicine of life. All these people have been going out and gathering the medicine of life, and it's brought my health back, and it's given me the strength to do this and persevere, because I cannot do this alone. I am not the lone wolf assassin that I used to be. I am a man in absolute desperate need of a savior and a redeemer, of a mighty one. And he is not far off. And you know what delivered me and rescued me and saved me? Your families. That was me after presenting to your children. I begged them to pray for me. I begged them, pray for me. Where's that young man who prayed for me? Come here.
I really appreciate that, because I think you guys have the most powerful prayers in the room.
We're also praying for you for the nature walk.
Pray for me when I do the nature walk, because I gotta be with all the babies. All the youngins.
And the whistles.
And all the whistles. Yeah.
Each given a whistle yesterday.
So if you guys feel comfortable, if you want to come up here, I would really, really appreciate it if you guys would pray for me.
Lay hands.
Sure, lay hands on me. That would be super helpful. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Who would be willing to lead the prayer? Come on, who's going to be brave? Who's going to be brave? Who'll be brave and pray for me?
I will.
Thank you.
I pray that you would touch this man, Jonah's name, and that you would touch his children, his wife, that they may be healed. And I pray that all the children will get their wisdom from nature.
Out of all the children I asked to pray for me, one stood up and prayed for me. Come on up here. Let me take my sword. Thank you. Thank you, Kai. Thank you for giving me my strength. That's Kai. Thank you. That's what the Father's looking for. So when you rise up in the midst of the congregation, you be bold, you be courageous, and you know what? Your Father will give you good gifts. He loves you, and He is eager for you to immerse yourself in His Word and find Him to be faithful. He loves you. He cares for you. Thank you for each and every one of you that has nourished my family, that has sheltered my family, that has financed my family and clothed my family and fed my family. Because of you, I can bear fruit. Because of you, I can share my treasures. Because of you, I can share my words and give everything I have for his name. Now I challenge you and encourage you, go and do likewise. Thank you all.